All right, let's talk about something we all use every single second we're online, but most of us don't really think about it. Cloud computing. I know, the name sounds kind of vague, but it is literally the invisible engine that powers everything you do. From that email you just sent to the show you're going to binge watch later tonight. So let's unpack this thing. So let me ask you this. Think about all your photos on your phone, your emails, the shows you watch on Netflix. Where do they actually live? I mean, it's not on your phone, right? Not all of it. It feels like it just exists out there in the ether. But it's not magic. It's actually a very real, very physical system. And here's the simplest way to get your head around it. When you hear the cloud, just picture a network of massive, massive buildings. We call them data centers. And these buildings are just jam-packed with powerful computers, thousands of them, called servers. They're the ones storing all that data and running all those apps. And the amazing part is, anyone can access them, right over the internet. So the heavy lifting isn't happening on your laptop anymore, it's happening in one of these giant buildings. Okay, but why? Why did this huge shift happen? I mean, why would a company stop running its own servers in some back room and decide to move everything to these giant shared data centers? Well, it all comes down to a few absolutely game-changing advantages. This slide just nails the before and after picture. Think about it. The old way, if your company needed email for its employees, you had to go out and buy a physical server, a big, expensive box. Then you had to install all the software, pay a team to maintain it, and you know what? If it broke at 3 a.m. on a Sunday, guess what? That was your problem to fix. Now, think about the cloud way. You want email? You just sign up for something like Gmail. That's it. All that hassle, the expensive hardware, the late-night maintenance, it's all handled for you. So when you boil it all down, the cloud gives you three huge wins. First up, cost. It is way cheaper than buying and running your own stuff. Second, reliability. These cloud providers have teams of experts, top-notch security, and backups for their backups. And third, and this is the big one, scalability. This is the idea that you can get more or less computing power instantly, paying only for what you use. And that, as we're about to see, is an absolute game changer. Yeah, that last point, scalability, that's where the real magic of the cloud comes into play. It's the secret sauce that lets a tiny little app suddenly handle millions of users overnight without completely falling apart. So put yourself in this situation. You launch a new app. For the first week, crickets. Then, all of a sudden, someone famous tweets about it and it goes viral. Your traffic just explodes. Now, in the old world, your one little server would have just melted. It would crash instantly. So how does the cloud stop that from happening? Well, there are basically two ways to handle more traffic. The first is called vertical scaling. That just means you make your one server bigger and beefier. You add more memory, a faster processor. But this gets super expensive really fast, and you start getting less bang for your buck. The cloud way is horizontal scaling. This is totally different. Instead of one giant expensive machine, you just add more smaller, cheaper machines to the group. It's way more stable and a whole lot more cost-effective. Okay, so if you have all these different machines, how does the traffic know where to go? That's the job of something called a load balancer. And you can think of it just like a traffic cop for the internet. A request from a user comes in, and the load balancer takes a quick look at all the available servers, checks which ones are healthy and not too busy, and then directs that user to an open server. It's a really simple but brilliant way to spread the work out, so no single computer gets overwhelmed. And this brings us to the real aha moment of the cloud, auto-scaling. This is just incredible. Instead of having a person sitting there manually adding more servers when things get busy, auto-scaling does it, well, automatically. When it sees traffic going up, boom, it adds more servers to handle the load. And just as important, when traffic dies down later, it gets rid of those extra servers. I mean, think about that. You can handle a massive traffic spike during the Super Bowl, and then a minute later, you scale right back down so you're not wasting money paying for servers you don't need. It is unbelievably efficient. All right, so now that we get the how, let's talk about the what. Not all cloud services are the same. It's not a one-size-fits-all deal. Depending on what you need, you can choose how much work you want to do yourself versus how much you want the provider to handle for you. There are basically three main flavors. And who are the companies actually providing these services? Well, it's a market really dominated by a few giants. You can see here that Amazon Web Services, or AWS, is the undisputed leader. They've got about a third of the entire market. Then you have Microsoft's Azure and Google Cloud as the other two big players. And just to give you an idea of the sheer scale we're talking about, think about Netflix. They're one of the biggest users of internet bandwidth on the entire planet. And guess what? They run almost everything on Amazon Web Services. Instead of trying to build their own globe-spanning network of data centers, they just pay Amazon to handle it all. This frees them up to focus on what they do best, right? Making great shows, not managing server racks. Okay, so back to those three models. It all comes down to a really simple question. Who manages what? This table here is the key to understanding it all. The three models, you'll hear them called IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS, are really just a spectrum. It goes from you having maximum control to maximum convenience, where the provider handles absolutely everything. Let's break down what each of these acronyms actually means. Let's put this in plain English. IaaS, or Infrastructure as a Service, is like you're just renting the basic hardware, the servers, the storage. You're renting the empty warehouse. You have the most control, but you also have the most work to do. Next is PaaS, Platform as a Service. This is like renting a fully equipped workshop. The provider manages the operating system, the tools. All you have to do is show up and start building your app. And finally, SaaS, Software as a Service. This is a finished product that you just use. Think Google Docs or Salesforce. You don't manage anything. You just log in and get to work. Now, as the cloud itself has gotten bigger and more complex, the way we manage it has had to evolve too. We've moved away from doing things by hand to something way more powerful and automated. You know, in the early days of the cloud, if you wanted a new server, you'd literally log into a website and click a bunch of buttons. It worked, but it was slow, and it was so easy to make a mistake or forget a step. The modern way, the standard today, is something called infrastructure as code. Instead of clicking buttons, you define your entire system, your servers, your load balancers, your databases, everything in a simple code file. It's automated, it's perfectly consistent every time, and it's way, way less likely to have human error. So there you have it. From a tiny viral app to a global entertainment giant like Netflix, the cloud is the invisible foundation holding up our digital world. It's made technology more powerful, more accessible, and more efficient than we ever could have imagined. Which of course leaves us with one last, pretty big question to think about. Since we built our entire digital world on this foundation, what happens if it ever stops?